Welcome back to MaxsGarajMahal. Today's video is going to be about putting LED lights, a fuse panel, 6-circuit fuse panel, the miniature LED pilot light rocker switches on the dashboard of the mower itself, and how to do the looms, how to make sure that you have clearances so anything that moves, like the fuse panel is right below the seat deck, and the seat deck moves up and down on springs at the rear, so you had to make sure there's plenty of movement around this fuse panel without touching the fuse panel. So I'll show you that, show you the brackets we made and how we mounted those brackets, what we used, and the manner in which we put all the wiring looms in and the wiring harnesses. We'll show you a couple of different ways to do the wiring harnesses as well, and we're going to show you some of the tools that you'll need here as you do this job, and there's several different ways you can do it. Let me see if I can get you down here. We can see what we're doing and what we used. We'll start over here, and right there is you're going to use some wire ties. You're going to need some electrical connectors, and you're going to need the wire loom brackets. They're actually cable clamps. You'll need shrink wrap. You'll need some various drills and tools like these hand tools over here. Scissors to cut some of the heat shrink wrap, magic markers or Sharpies, some sort of measuring devices like the rulers there, maybe the tape measures, and you're going to need, of course, the lights, and I'll show you some different versions here in just a moment. So let me pan back out and see if I can get this off of the, and I know I always do a terrible job on this, but I'll see if I can get the camera off here without shaking it too awfully badly, and I'll, like I say, I always do a terrible job on that, so bear with me here, guys. Here we go. Alright, so I'm going to take you over here to the table, and here are some of the various tools we used. We used wire cutter and stripper. We used a couple of different versions of that. There's another one here. Here's another one. We used, this is one of my favorites. It's a good little tool. Had that thing for a long time, just like this one here. I probably had this one. This SK Wayne is probably 35, 40 years old. This is a little fuller needle nose that you need once in a while. A little ratchet wrench, standard wrench, Phillips, and flat screwdriver. A center hole punch to start your screws. Little wire cutter. We used some grommets. We used shrink wrap for the wiring. We used spade, male and female spades, connectors here. They're used a lot of these red ones, and they're for anywhere from, let's see what they say, like 16 gauge to 22 gauge. And most of the LED lights use a really light wire, so you're going to use very few of the blue or yellows. Used yellow to hook up the battery to the fuse block, and I used a 12 gauge wire to do that because it carry enough amperage to take care of the voltage and the draw on it. There's the you'll need some of these nylon cable clamps to put your wire loom in. We'll pan over here and try to show you what the wiring loom material looks like. It's this little corrugated plastic that splits open to allow you to put your wire through, and it really works well. You really need this to protect your wires against various sharp edges and places where they rub. And let's see, here's some of the sizes I used. I used a 1/2 inch And this happens to come in a 7-foot. This came from Harbor Freight. This one over here, the 1/4 inch, which I used a lot of that as well. I used this to run the strobe lights from the seat and down through the suspension seat kit, so that that was protected from the suspension where things scissors back and forth like that. You want to make sure that those are protected. We used a good soldering iron, really good soldering iron over here. It's adjustable temp, great unit. Used a couple of fingers over here to hold the wire in place. A really good solder, various sizes of wiring, some test leads. We used the little digital multimeter here in a couple of cases. Guys, these tape measures come in awfully handy. Here's the type of switch I used, and you'll see them on the Mower shortly. This is a lighted rocker switch, and as you turn it on, this little light will shine. I mean, it will really take your eyes out. It really does a nice job. This is the type switch that came on the harness that I used, and if you notice, it is a little push button. It goes on with two-sided tape. You don't want to use that because that's going to get moist and wet and it's going to fall off. Also, now there are some good things about this. You could make a bracket of some sort to make sure that it stays in place. But if you look at this, it'll say off and on. The off is in red, on's in green. When you turn this on, it has power going to your lights. There'll be a green light shining. It's a really nice little deal. But if you lose your ground, the red light comes on and it'll run your battery down over a period of time. This is what those cable clamps look like right here. And you're going to need some of those. I used these self-drilling screws in various sizes to mount these cable clamps so that they're permanent. You can leave these a little loose and use maybe a larger clamp to put a smaller convoluted or a protective wire wrap in, and that way it can move backward and forth if you'd like. By the way, we're going to debut these lights pretty soon. These things are just sweet as they can be. They can run in your frame or your fenders, and I got to do is drill a hole that's the size of the base where my finger and thumb's at, shove it through, and it's got these little retainers right here that pops out and holds it in place. This little light right here is ultra bright, super small, ultra bright. Gets awfully hot though. You've seen these on some other people's mowers. Some point in time, there's a couple of places I may put this underneath the mower. These are for going around the fender because they flex, and the fender is rounded on the front, so this will shine out over the edge of the mower deck, allow you to see where your deck's at when you're coming up against something. These are the lights you're going to see being mounted on the mower shortly. The strobe lights are already on, as you'll see later in the video. By the way, I shot that first, so I got to figure out a way to blend it together. So pardon me for that. Again, we used cable ties, we used Sharpies, rulers, wrenches to our extensions to get in here. We used a nice little step drill to drill some of the holes for both the wire protector as well as for some of the bolts. We used a square. Don't remember what I used it for, but I used it on there as well. So anyway, that's just a little bit of a, we will show you this real quick. If you really want to do a really nice job, and if you want to attach things to your fenders so that you can remove your fenders, these are automotive strain relief socket connectors so that they disconnect and you can leave one side attached to your fender, the other side to your wiring harness. And this has got a single up through a 6-wire connector, which are pretty neat. You do have to do your own assembly. Really nice, works really well. The grommets, when you go through a fender or piece of metal of some sort, you do want to use a grommet and then run your harness through that so that you don't end up having a sharp or frayed area. So we're going to come back here shortly and we're going to show you how to mount the lights and how to space them equally so that it has some sort of pleasing aesthetic look to it, as well as make it functional. So we'll come back shortly and show you how to do that. And again, thank you for coming to visit MaxsGarajMahal, and we'll be back here shortly. Stay tuned. Real quickly, I want to make sure I give a shout out to Michael Jesse at Jesse's Shop over in Kentucky. Great guy, fantastic inventor. Gotta show you this socket. Guys, there's the Jesse socket. It is for leveling the decks on your Hustler Raptor. It is a fantastic little situation. It is a 14 millimeter. It's 3/8 inch drive, and it's got a mark on it here. The way this thing operates is you screw this down, you loosen the nut, you place a 3-inch block under your deck, front and rear, side to side, put 4 of them under it, and then you lower your deck down on top of these 3-inch blocks. You take this socket and you run this down to the top of the bolt, which is right about here, till it just barely touches, so you can feel it touch. And then you tighten your nut up on the bolt up against this socket, just barely snug it, and then remove the 3 blocks and your deck should be perfectly level. Fantastic idea. We want to give Mr. Michael Jesse credit for that. We'll put a link in our video for you. We also want to send you by there to look at his light system. He's got a strobe light, an LED system that's really nice. He tells you what he used, where to get the items, and did a really nice job of it. So go by and see Michael Jesse at his YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, give him a thumbs up. Just show him a little love. Again, Michael Jesse, Jesse's Shop. Thank you. We'll be back shortly. Alright, there we are, guys. That's where we're going to mount the front lights. And we're going to show you what the blue tape's been about. You've been seeing in the videos for such a long time. And real quickly, we're back at MaxsGarajMahal. Real quickly, when you purchase these lights, you're going to have to assemble them, basically. Let's take this one over here, and you'll have to mount the bracket here with these 2 bolts, 2 nuts, and you'll use you won't need a wrench here on these nuts, as these nuts self-lock in this little U-channel here. However, you will need one of those Allen wrenches, or Allen keys if you like, right there. So make sure the first thing you do is we want to mount all the hardware, get it very good and secure, and we'll finish tightening this up. As you can see, this will still move right there. We want to be able to adjust this to the mower where we're going to be going. Now, real quickly, there's the tape that I've been showing you, or that you've been seeing in some of the videos, and what the lines are all about. And I alluded to this in prior videos. That was, do you want to have this equal spaced on either side, like this, right here? Do you want to have it at a given distance toward the back? That is going to have a lot to do with this spacing right here. You've got below the frame here, you've got this channel, and you're going to have to be able to locate your nut and bolt inside that channel. So what we're going to need to do here, we're going to need to find out, and I'm going to move this out of the way. It's not attached yet, it's just sticking down in a hole that we've located and drilled. You're going to want to locate how far this is out. So you're going to measure this over. You're going to transfer this into here. Same way here. You want to find out how far you can go with the bolt and a nut and be able to get a wrench on the nut. That's very important, because once you get that in there, you're going to have to be able to tighten that nut. You're going to also have to be able to turn it. So these lines here represent the spacing from the front of the frame to the front of the light. See if I can get it to come back up here with us. And you may or may not have noticed that this bolt is captured in that U-channel when you stick it in there and attach it to the light. So very important to use that as your center point for your bolt. So we're going to measure this distance here on either one, and then we're going to find out what we want here. Another thing you want to keep into mind and bear into your thoughts here is, will this hit anything on the front, and will it be hitting anything here, so that you want to make sure that the back of the light don't stick out any further. In this case, you back this into a pole or something like that to try to get the mower deck into an area that really needs to be cut. So with that in mind, bear in mind, you got to make sure keep all this in your mind as you go along. So let's go ahead here, and what I've done is I've located the bolt holes. I've used a center punch here, and then I've used a step drill to drill this hole. So this is ready to go, and it's ready to mount. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right here. I'll go ahead and mount the lights. Then I'm going to show you some ideas you might want to adopt, and that is to make sure that underneath here, and as you can see, I had to stop the other day while I was installing this and had to stop the video preparation in order to go mow. So this is just secured here temporarily, and we're going to go back and correct that. Hopefully I can get some light in here where you can see what we've done. I'll shoot up from the bottom. So real quickly, I'm going to get started. Mount the lights in place, then you run your wiring to the lights. Always mount your hardware where you want it, then you run your harness, your wiring harness to your hardware. All right, so be right back. Okay, so here we are back. And as you can see, you're still at MaxsGarajMahal. So the lights are installed. We also have the wiring run. As you can see here, we have a grommet to sort of secure the wiring through the frame to make sure that it doesn't at any time get frayed. So use grommets, guys. Those things really come in handy. And we've got the light set back where we'd like to have them. They also don't protrude past the frame. Get another look at over here. And switches. See if we can get you a shot of the switches here. Switches for the light, front lights, is here. And as you can see, real bright little lights. We're going to take it outside for you here a little bit so you can get a good look. And of course, the ever popular so far, strobe lights. So we'll get her outside here in a minute, take a look at those, and we'll probably adjust the lights out also. It's not quite dark yet. So let me stop this for a moment. I'll take the mower outside so that we can get some natural light on it, what's left of it, and see if we can go under the hood and get a closer look what it looks like there. We'll get a creeper, we'll get up underneath the front and see if we can show you what that looks like down along the sides. So stay with me just one more moment, we'll be right back. Okay, there she is, all back together. Lights are installed, side, back, wiring looms are in. Everything's very secured with cable clamps and self-drilling screws into the frame all throughout. So let's go see if we can get a look at this thing and see just how it looks with the front lights on it. And let's see, let's get right over here for a second. And we'll pan down. There we go. And that's what the lights look like on. I haven't had it outside with the lights on, so we don't know where it's pointed. We'll find out real quick. So let's see what that looks like in the lens. Looks pretty good. We'll still get it up there in a little bit, and we will point it at the house, and or at the Garage Mahal. We'll measure from the light to the ground on both sides, and we'll try to make sure that the lights are the same height in the barn doors over here, so that you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. Now let's go ahead and look at the wiring harnesses and the fuse holder and see how that looks, and we should be able to get this thing wrapped up here shortly. And let's see, here we are back at Max's Garage Mahal. Boy, you can tell that guy puts his name all over everything, doesn't he? So let's go ahead and zero in right there real quickly, and I'll be right back set up for the wire looms. Alrighty, so here we go. Back to the wire looms. So we've got the fuse holder in here, and there's the bracket right there that she's mounted to, and she's mounted securely with 4 bolts in the frame. Let me see if I can get a look at it from both sides here. And it's got a little triangular motion going there in the build, so that it's pretty doggone secure. And the fuse holder is above the tank. I don't know if I can get a better shot of that or not. Let me see. It's above the tank. I'll put my hands under here, and there'll be, don't have it on there now, I've got to cut some HDPE, that's high density polyethylene plastic. It'll sit here, it'll be glued on, it'll make a turn, go down in front, so that at any point in time this may get contact in something else, then it will make sure it doesn't get into the fuel cell and cause a problem with that. So here is the wiring loom. This happens to be the relay for the lights. This is the fuse, and it's got its own individual fuse for the relay. And of course the light switch itself has one here. That's the blue wire with the white stripe. That wire right here is the hot wire that goes through this loom, down through and next to the original wiring circuit, and comes up underneath the fender up into the dash. And then, as you saw earlier, this is the switch right here, and this is the switch for the strobe lights. What I like about these is they are lighted, so even if you didn't see the lights, which I can imagine that, you can still see the light here. So let's say you're outside, when you look down to shut off the ignition, grab the key, you're going to see the lights most likely. So now if I can get you some photos, oh, real quickly, here is the wiring loom that comes up through the seat, comes around here and through the seat frame. I don't know that I can get that. Really don't see that. Let me get a light for you and I'll be right back. There's a wiring harness. If you can see that corrugated looking black plastic, that hides the wire and protects it from the scissors action, and it's also maintained up against the outside of the seat frame, which doesn't move, the suspension seat here. And we did that by mounting it through clamps both here, which I don't know if you can see that, and in the front down here. So it's pretty secure. The wiring harness, we brought the wiring together here Right over here, same from over there to here. Made a real nice little Y, as you can see here. Brings it over, down through the seat, toward the front, all the way to the front of the seat, through the seat bracket or the seat frame, which of course the seat moves up and down at all times. So this comes through here and goes into a little larger clamp that allows this wire to move in and out freely, keep it from binding up. So let me get a creeper and we will lay down on the ground here and try to get you some pictures and a little video of the wiring loom up front and where it comes from the back here all the way up. Hang on a minute, we'll be right back. Alrighty, there she is, where she comes down below the frame, and as you can see, it's all up above the frame. I'm gonna get my finger in here, maybe you can see that. Right there is where she comes down into the frame, out of the engine compartment, and then it runs through the front here and goes all the way forward, and then is mounted to the front side here, right in here, with cable clamps, and she is completely covered with the corrugated wire loom, wire and harness loom, and all this extra wire here, which is also in the looms, as you can see. It's taped up really well to make sure that it doesn't get into anything down the road. And I don't know if I can show it to you as it goes across the front, but there, let me just see if I can turn the light a little bit. She goes all the way across the front, and then over here she does the same thing right here. It's all mounted up real securely with cable clamps, and it's in there where it should never go anywhere. So that's pretty much the system, and it's very secure, it's very protected. It has shrink wrap on everything so that moisture should be pretty much no issue, and I think it's going to last a very long time. The lights look good, they seem to work just fine. We will wait till dark and we'll pull it over here, and we will try to adjust the lights so that we get maximum distance out of them. There's some other lights that will be going on the side of the mower, both in the rear, all the way up the front, and I'm working on a system that may allow us to put some lights out there on the outboard portion of the deck to get real maximum light on the cutting area. So bear with me, we'll be back here in a little bit to make sure we get some adjustments on the front lights. I really did think I should show you this, guys. The lights are on, as you can see, and if you pull, if the fuse blows, then it tells you which circuit is blown, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. If it blows a circuit, then what's going to happen is it's going to run your battery down. So what you're going to need to do is fix that circuit pretty quick, because of course all you really have to do, now that I've really confused you and excited you, is just turn off the switch and it won't run your battery down. So there you go, just thought I'd bring you up to date on that. Just turn off your switch. What that is it shows you when there's an open ground or a system that's not making a complete circuit. So that's a pretty neat little trick, and thought you'd like that. I will put a link into where all these parts came from, and I am supplying those for people who would like to have those. I'm going to make up kits, harness kit, switch kit, maybe a 4 circuit, 6 circuit, 8 circuit, depending on how big you guys would like to go. And we will have lights for you. We're going to have probably 3 kinds of lights. We'll have this one. We will have, oh, let's see. Tell you what, I will show you on the next video. If you're interested in lights, just email me at MaxsGarajMahal@gmail.com. And once again, I want to thank all you guys and one lady that has purchased this this scallop block off plate. I thank you very kindly. I know that the shipping on these things are a little bit high, and I'm sorry. The post office sort of sets the rates on those, and so far I've not had 2 that shipped at the same rate, so I really never know what to tell anybody. I can tell you what the low has been and what the high has been. So far, to ship this little old sucker right here, the cheapest I've found has been $6.85, and so far the worst has been $9.90, and that's a lot of money, and I hate it, but so far people have really enjoyed these things, and I hope that the next one gets one, enjoys it just as much as the rest of us, and I appreciate it. And once again, everybody, thank you for visiting MaxsGarajMahal, and I want to give another shout out to Michael Jesse. Go by and see his light system, and say hello, tell him I sent you by, and be sure and subscribe to his channel. And if you would, please subscribe to mine and hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and please share with at least 2 people. Let's build this channel. We'll do a lot more for you down the road. We're going to do, oh gosh, just matter of fact, why don't y'all tell me what you'd like to see, and I'll see if I can get it done. There's so many things we've got on the drawing board for this little Hustler Raptor RSD. We're considering increasing the fuel capacity to somewhere between 5 and 6 gallons. We're really considering doing a fuel gauge, and we may put the fuel gauge right here between the fuel tank filler and the cup holder. And boy, we can't do without that cup holder. Everyone knows you need that. Also, be sure and right in here, put something between your springs and your fuel tank that will keep those springs from rubbing a hole through them. That's I may be supplying those as well in that high density polyethylene. Let's see, let me turn these lights off, and I will show you where I put it when I mounted these lights. The reason why I've got this flashlight out here is to show you that I really don't like to put metal to metal, because for me this is an expensive purchase. So I use, see the difference in color of the yellows there? That is a high density polyethylene rectangular washer to separate the lights and the frame. So once again, thank you for coming by MaxsGarajMahal, and I appreciate it. Say hello to me, tell me what you'd like to see in the comments down below, and we'll put you a link right over here to Michael Jesse's I guess it'd be, I'm sorry, right over there to Michael Jesse's channel. And there may even be some outtakes at the end of this, so don't forget to stick around and see the outtakes. They're not funny, it just shows you what I was up to and how big a mess that I made in these 58 hours I spent doing this correctly. You could actually do this in probably a tenth that time, maybe even less than that, but I wanted to make sure it looks factory when I was done with it, and it certainly does. So I hope you enjoyed it, and again, y'all come back, see me now here, MaxsGarajMahal.